Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
When you hear a fighter say they got a highlight reel like Evel Knievel, they got swagger like Elvis Presley, and they be damned if they ain't handsome, I think we got a highlight reel on our hands. We're talking about Nate the Train Landwehr, stole the show here at UFC San Antonio. Cory Sandhagen, I think he answered a lot of our questions here. This man is indeed the real deal. Get the man a title shot. He wants to fight Merab. Get the man a title shot. What are we talking about, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. Today we're here to break down the aftermath of UFC San Antonio, a little bit of controversial judging, and as you can see in the corner, if you guys are watching, we actually have a winner this week, so let me bring my man in. I'm talking about the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber, the winner of the UFC San Antonio card week. Brother, what's happening, my man?
Woo, Derick, I want to say you said a little controversial, Derick. The controversy has been echoing since the fight started. The whole entire card started, man. But I'm feeling well. I'm doing well, brother. It was an interesting night of fights. And like you said, Nate, the Train Landwehr, coming in and stealing the show. This dude, absolute star in the making. You gotta love when somebody grabs the mic and makes it about them and their time. And it proved, man, Nate is here to stay. I'm excited, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling a little robbed, brother. I feel like there was a little highway robbery that happened this weekend, but I'm trying not to be too emotional about it because at the end of the day, there was a lot of mixture of opinion in terms of like the experts, the journalists, the reporters on Twitter versus the people who we watch fights every weekend, bro. You know what I mean? It's like we know a controversy when we see it. We know something's a little iffy when we see it. So when I hear people say 30-27 Maycee Barber is a fair scorecard, I say, okay, interesting. When I see the Chidi Njokuani versus Albert Duraev scoring criteria versus how the fight played out. When someone and I backed him, I picked him, folks. You saw it on the preview show. When they say 48-47 Chito Vera over Cory Sandhagen, I say pump the brakes. We got a lot to talk about. So, folks, without any further ado, check out the scorecard below. You do see 27, 21, and 2. My man AJ has taken a lead here on the Bloody Water Podcast. And you know what? Win or lose, I'm actually glad that we just got some traction moving, brother, that it isn't the same 0-0 score. So, AJ, before we jump into the prop recaps, anything else that you want to share, or are you ready to get into this thing?
I think I feel the same sentiment you do, Derick, no matter who does take the lead on this one. I'm excited we're actually finally getting back to that competition of having somebody in the beginning, having somebody up, in the back, and actually leading and following and trying to make this a real sport of it. It does, it helps the competition as far as us, but what's even better, folks, you can see those numbers are growing even more towards that 70% mark we're trying to hit for y'all. So we're right there. We're going, and it's excited to see some movement. But lead the way, man. Let's get it.
All right, let's get it. Say no more. Folks, subscribe now if you haven't yet, but we're going to talk about it. Let's go. All right, brother. So, listen, I'm looking at a beautiful, clean score sheet over here for you. I want to show the folks that when you see the white Manel Kape, that is because that fight got canceled on fight day. So, of course, it didn't count. But my man AJ is in the gold. Hit on Sandhagen, Holm, Landwehr, Barber. Sole miss was Chidi Njokuani. And I want to actually just mention that really quickly here, brother. Chidi Njokuani, I felt like was a risky, although I think a high upside pick, and I think he didn't do himself any favors. We're going to talk about it in a little bit in terms of receiving the bad result of the split decision. But just real quick in 1 to 2 sentences, man, can you say that the scoring criteria for that fight versus the next fight, Maycee Barber versus Lee, was a little bit different? It wasn't consistent. Would you argue?
Not even a little bit, Derick. I would say 100% inconsistent. There was, we'll break it down, but yes,
there we go. All right, and now when we look at these props, now things are looking a little sharp for you, my man. The thing is, chalk is what won us the week, I guess, right? Barber decision, chalk, -130. Holm decision, -145, chalk. Sandhagen decision, +135. These are very chalky picks. So sometimes, you know how we say you got to risk it to get the biscuit. It seems that as of late, that hasn't quite been the case, you know what I mean? So, AJ, have you taken a new approach to these props to increase your score, or do you say it's the luck of the draw?
Derick, this is 100% those times where you'd rather be lucky than good, and they say preparation meets timing, and that's what produces luck, brother. And hey, lucky on this one. I can't be too happy, can't be too mad. Hopefully the luck continues into next week. Those props are hard, man. Like you said, a lot of those were chalk, and even there was a couple I thought were chalk. I believe the Nate Landwehr TKO still, or what was it? Yeah, and then he gets a sub. Yeah, there's never anything guaranteed. But let's keep that. Let's keep this luck running.
Exactly. So let's just jump straight into this main card because we got a lot to break down, brother. Let's get it.
Have you seen that replay, buddy? Your head was bouncing around like a pinball machine.
Time for some main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
I think it's fair to say that we need to put a newfound respect on the Sandman, Cory Sandhagen. Now, we had kind of gone into this with the narrative of Cory Sandhagen either outpoints him to a decision or Chito Vera knocks him out. But I don't think that we took into consideration Cory Sandhagen is really mixing it up like a legitimate mixed martial artist now. Like, he has taken all the little details and minutia of the losses in the biggest moments and added them to this game. And now, what did he do? He bagged round 1 and 2 on Chito with the takedowns and then picked him apart for the rest of the fight, man. So was this classic bread and butter Sandman that people are sleeping on, or were you like, no, this was a new level of Cory Sandhagen?
A new level, Derick, and I think you picked up on the right things. The same things I picked up on, where he took a lot of those losses, a lot of the things he had exposed and started working on them, started grinding, started going into those places and actually getting the work done to improve. And this is the output of it, man. Sandhagen looks levels above where he was, and he was already at one of the top levels. So I'm excited to see where they put this dude next. You know, with the whole mix-up of Aljo, Marab. There's a lot of opponents that this dude can fight. That's going to be a very exciting style of matchup. I don't know, man. Sandhagen seems like a pay-per-view from now on. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, this should be like a main event, you know what I mean, type slot from now on. I will say there's like the story that needs to be broken down. The story within the story is that Marlon Vera, slow starter, we mentioned it, everybody knew it. He got off to a really slow start. But as I was watching it, I don't think this was quite as simple as, oh yeah, I'm just dissecting and I'm going to take my time. I don't think that he had a choice but to get off to a slow start. Cory Sandhagen is a master of angles. He is a master of movement. He's a master of not reusing and repeating the same techniques over and over again. So it's hard to pick up a pattern. So when he's throwing a flying knee, switching stances back and forth, hooks here, body shots over here. Oh, let me mix in the takedown. Oh, let me throw the elbow off the break, right? It's so hard to get a beat on this guy. And the only way that we have truly seen where you can legitimately defeat him, you have to get a hold of this guy and you can't let him move around. So I thought it was an interesting, I want your rebuttal to this. Cory Sandhagen in the post-fight said, yeah, Chito Vera is not really good at closing distance, so I figured if I didn't close the distance for him, he'd have no way of really being able to touch me. That's exactly how the fight played out, bro. What do you think? How do you feel about that?
It's exactly like the fight played out. I wouldn't say Vera is bad at closing the distance or doesn't have the best attempts or entrances to closing that distance. I would just say Sandman's a little faster and able to work those angles like you're talking about, Derick, because he does have that, not inconsistency, but like where you don't know what's coming next from Sandhagen because he has so many different ways and angles and movements and footwork, man. The footwork of Cory Sandhagen is beautiful, especially in those switch stances, man. When he's able to turn on you and you're like, oh man, what's he gonna throw? Left hook's coming. Next thing you know, you get hit with a right jab. Man, what the fuck, man? I didn't see that at all. That's what Sandhagen's best at. And I don't think that's a knock on Chito, because Chito may not be the quickest at making the entrances, closing that distance and getting to your hips or getting to the clinch, whatever he wants to do. But he does have the relentless pressure where he will be there eventually, So I don't know if that's bad or good. It's kind of stylistic. But do you see it as a bad thing, Derek?
Well, I just saw that Cory Sandhagen completely used that to his game plan. You know what I mean? He took advantage of it. So one of the other narratives here was that I guess in Chito Vera's camp, they were kind of saying Cory Sandhagen thinks he's a little too smart for his own good. Like he's going to outsmart me. And I think that's what he did though, man. Honestly, I think that he just said, all right, I'm going to take literally all of your weaknesses and I'm going to exploit them. I'm going to capitalize on them. And I mean, it's going to be really hard for you to win round 3, 4, and 5 if I wins round 1 and 2. So let me just take you down, hold you, put it in the bag, drop a little ground and pound on you. You saw, though, every time Vera was able to land, there was damage. Cory Sandhagen looked like the more beat-up fighter. He had the massive gash on the top of his head from the elbow, right? So the question ultimately becomes, if Vera would have got started earlier, do you think he had a legitimate chance in this fight, given how we saw it played out? We thought he had a chance, but given how it played out, if he would have stepped on the gas the way he did in round 5 and round maybe 2 or so, you think it would have been a different story?
I think it would have, and I think we would have had to see the actual smarts of Sandhagen come out because Vera fought the fight that Cory was already expecting. So he didn't have to rejudge. He didn't have to reassess any of that. He then had to just play his game plan. If Vera comes out hot off the jump, throwing that big power, making everybody in the crowd ooh and ah, then I do think you have to actually sit back, readjust, like, okay, he's not coming out like the fighter is expecting. What do we do now? Do we still stick with the game plan? Do we switch it up? I think it makes it a different fight. I don't think it makes it a different outcome here, because I do agree. I think Sandhagen's one of his best abilities is how smart he is, and that's the reason why he grew so much in between all these fights. And what, his last fight was only 4 months ago, or what we say? Some crazy short time. Sandhagen, isn't it? Am I wrong?
No, I think it was a little bit longer than that, yeah.
Is it longer than that? All right, either way, Sandhagen is very smart from the way he does it, and I think it's it's very showing that a camp will go in and say, "Oh, he thinks he's smarter than me." Like, I don't doubt that, man. Some people do hold that intelligence really high in the fight game, and it really does play a lot. So I think that's a misstep on the Chito Vera camp, personally.
Yeah, and then last question before we move on to the next one, man. Well, the interesting thing here is that Cory Sandhagen kind of dissected this by saying, what do we love about Chito Vera? He's a blood and guts fighter. He says, fuck all the details and all that. I'm a fighter. I'm going to come here to fight. It's as simple as that. And Cory Sandhagen says sometimes you're going to run into these guys who want it just as bad at you. It's not necessarily going to be a war of wills. I want it just as bad, but I'm just a little bit technically better. So you have to make those adjustments. It can't be a matter of I just want it more. AJ, we love us some Goggins, but we know it cannot just be pure determination. There must be technique behind the determination. Do you think that Marlon Vera will learn from this to make the adjustments to now hang with these real top 3-ish guys? Because Cory Sandhagen is number 5 on paper, but he's a top 3 guy.
Yes, very true, Derick. And I think the same way we're talking that Sandhagen has learned from his losses, I think Chito has as well, even from some of his wins. The Sean O'Malley win, a couple of the other fights that he's had against these technical guys, you can see him becoming less and less of that brawler, that marauder that's just going to walk you down, and a little more calculated. Not much, but a little more. And I do think that he's going to have to learn that is the next step of his game plan. If he wants to elevate to that upper echelon, you have to start reading your opponents. It always blows my mind when the fighters that say they don't watch any film at all. I'm like, damn, how? Like, you're just gifted. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, either way, I think it's fair to say Cory Sandhagen needs a title shot. I know he calls out Marab. He wants to kind of play that game of working his way back up the ladder. Give the man a title shot. What are we talking about here? Expert performance, man, by the Sandman, Cory Sandhagen. Should have went with my mind. I went with the heart instead. Either way, let's move on to the co-main, brother. Now, a tale old is time, man. You count Holly Holm out, and she comes back and says, y'all must have forgot. And she did that against Yana Santos. But I want to talk a little bit more about the mom curse, AJ. The mom curse lives on. Yana Santos, first fight from having the baby, and she loses. And I don't know if we should really be, like, kind of digging into this a little bit further, man. But isn't it a little odd? Like, this almost means if the curse is real that she is set for a fantastic bounce-back performance in her next bout. But in this one, man, it looked like classic Yana Santos, man, in the first round. But Holly Holm took complete advantage and turned into D1. Holly Holm, brother, what are we talking about?
Mixed martial artist Holly Holm, man, coming in with the powerful clinch, man. This was very impressive. And what I'm happiest about this one, Derick, this put all the naysayers of age and past her time and all this stuff right out of the mix, man. 41-year-old Holly Holm just signed, what was it, an 8-fight contract deal? She's here for a long time, man. She's even talking about going up, getting the strap. I think things can bode well if she stays fighting like this, man, able to mix things up and not just worry about the boxing. I know the commentary was talking about, I want to see the boxing versus the kickboxing of these two fighters. Shit, I want to see Holly Holm mix it up and put her on the ground again. That was something different. That's an evolution in the game, and I love seeing it.
4 takedowns by Holly Holm, and just to make sure that our statistics are correct, I believe she signed a new 6-fight deal here for in the UFC, and who knows if she'll fight that out, man. 6 fights it's a lot of fights. I think the real thing, man, 4 takedowns by Holly Holm, and they were easy. Those were all little simple trips over and over and over again to the well. Dana White came in a little confused in the post-fight presser, noting, hey, Yana Santos was just kind of charging at Holly Holm, but I was like, isn't that what Yana Santos does? She'll cut the distance, she will grab you you, clinch you up against the cage, and then just try to do a little bit of dirty boxing or, just a little bit of clinch work, hit you up, knack up those little points. And it was working until, once again, I'm going to go back to what we said in the preview show. People think for whatever reason they can bully around Holly Holm like she's not a big woman in the division, bro. It's a hard cut to 35. She's big and she's strong. And I think that she put that on full display. Now, here's the real gripe a lot of people had with this bout. They said, yeah, Holly looked fantastic, but she had many opportunities to finish the fight, and she didn't go for it. Bro, she had an arm bar that was sitting out there for a long time, and it was like Santos was begging to be arm barred. And I feel like Holly Holm, who is obviously boxing background, not jiu-jitsu, not grappler, maybe said, position over submission. Let me just keep beating her up. Let me not take the chance on the arm bar. But it was there to be had. In the third round, when you're just pummeling her, finish is there to be had. Do you think she should have went with a more aggressive approach in this fight? Excuse me.
No, I don't think so, Derick. I think the classic, just beat them up as you will. You're winning the fight. Don't do anything that's going to put you in a position. Let's say she does go for the armbar. She doesn't get it. It's a little bit past the elbow. And then next thing you know, Yana Santos is on top. You're getting rained down from. Switches the fight up. If you need to do that, then do it. But if there's no need, you have a dominant position. Get the win. Get the dub. Get going. Get home. Get paid. I don't know. Do you see taking this? Because sometimes I do agree that the risk is necessary, like in the Chidi Njokuani fight. We'll talk about it later. But he needed the win. He needed the finish. That's when you go for something like that. If you're on top, I mean, I agree. The arm was there. And even to a layman in the jiu-jitsu, man, everybody saw the arm was there for a long time. But again, same point. I wouldn't take that just because I know if my skill set is in there and I can see that, I'm like, oh, okay, I can see that. But it's probably bait. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to get it reversed. No, I'm cool. I'm cool finishing this on the hands. But I don't know. What do you think? I
think that it just depends on the context, right? It's not a given Holly Holm won the first round, even though they gave it like the 46 or, 30-26s, excuse me, and all that. I felt like it was still a little close for that first round where maybe Santos could have squeaked it out. So now it's really a matter of you have to win 2 rounds. So are you going to win? And she did. She won the rounds. But the point is, just step on the gas a little bit. I know you're 41. I know you're trying to just get back in the win column. It'd be nice to see a step on the gas a little bit. Aside from that, this was an utter clinic from Holly Holm. This was pure domination here against Yana Santos, who knew her game, who was very familiar with her game. So we're going to talk a little bit about Holly Holm a little bit later. Sneak preview right there. But in the meantime, brother, that is another big win. She's always been at the top of the division. I'm excited to see where she goes from here. But once again, brother, check out that bicep right there, bro. I'd be damned if I ain't handsome. Let's go, Nate Landwehr, bro. That's the type of promo that I want to see right there. When my man is cutting a straight WWF Macho Man Randy Savage promo. And after a performance where he got the submission, he called the sucker punch rear naked choke, man. Punched the mouthpiece out, choked the man, made him tap, made him beg for mercy. But here's the real thing right here, man. This, you have to admit, we said fight of the night. This was a little lackluster of a fight for the Landwehr and Austin Lingo, man. Like, Nate Landwehr was composed, brother. Talk to me about the composed nature you saw. Is this going to be a dangerous man from here on out?
Dangerous, Derick. I was shocked. When we were talking about it, and we said it in the pre-show, Nate might come out that first round and chill. I said that, but I didn't believe it. I think it was going to be there. There's always a possibility that's going to happen, but at the same time, man, when you get locked in that cage and you're ready to fight, you just go back to square one. Sometimes that's just scrapping. But not Nate Landwehr now, man. This is a new animal out here. This is a dangerous man. He came back and he really started picking up in the second. And that's what blew my mind. I was like, damn, this dude is calculated. He is thinking things through out there and making great decisions, which admittedly, in my mind, made it a little bit closer of a fight than I was expecting. Lingo had a couple moments in there where I was like, oh shit, Lingo might be real. And then Nate really stepped on the gas, man. And that was just classic. You saw him decide to make the switch, dump the gas tank, and put the pressure on him. Great fight.
That's right, man. And I mean, listen, there's a couple of different factors that we could play into this one, but I think that the most important one is I told everybody, Austin Lingo is not some pushover, bro. Like, if you think he can't win this fight, the man absolutely can. The other thing that we need to take into consideration is that kind of slow, methodical start by Nate Landwehr. I think his coaches really got on him over the last performance where they're like, bro, come on, man. Like, you can't be getting in full mount on your opposition and just stand up. Like, we didn't coach you like that, right? So this composed dude, scary guy. I'm a little upset, though, because we talked about it, bro. I said, don't you see some juice in that plus 900 submission? And we both said yes, and neither of us went for it. But we told you guys, this is why we watch film. It's because we saw that opening there. And like I said, sucker punch, rear naked choke, man. This is some as smooth as Tennessee whiskey here for Nate Landwehr in this performance. Stays in the ranking, defends his rank. But ultimately, man, how far can a Nate Landwehr go with this new methodical style?
Ooh, man, instantly to my mind, this dude is top 10, top 5 ready, right in there. But that's a hell of a division, man. 155, correct? If I'm not wrong.
145, 145.
Even, I mean, still a hell of a division up there. I think give him top 5. If we're really trying to challenge this guy, 8-5 sounds about right to me. What do you think, Derick?
I'm thinking, like, give me, like, 7-10. If I'm Nate Landwehr right now, put him in that spot just because if I pull up the rankings just really quickly just to kind of take a glimpse of what the featherweights are looking like right now, if we're looking at 8-10, you got, I don't know, man. I don't know. You got Giga Chikadze, Ilya Topuria, Movsar Evloev, Bryson Mitchell, Sadiq Youssef, Dan Ige, Edson Barbosa, Alex Caceres. That's from 8-15, bro. So, like, you say top 5, we're talking about Josh Emmett, Arnold Allen, Ortega, Holloway. Yeah, we might have to revise that on another rankings review. But for the time being right here, this man and his promos right here, I think he can get far just by winning and cutting it on the mic. I think it's going to be as simple as that. No chalk for the TKO for Nate Landwehr, but that was close. Anything else on this one?
Nah, man, and I definitely think the revision comes into place. But I do want to say, Bryce Mitchell, Nate Landwehr, sounds like a great fight.
Until Nate Landwehr gets his ACL torn in half by Bryce Mitchell.
That's an interesting one, man. But yeah, I agree. That's a hell of a top 15 in the 45.
That's right. All right, let's move on to the real controversy right here, brother. So, hey, you know I have to do it. It wouldn't be right if I didn't, but listen, man, I don't particularly want to say robbery report right here because a close fight is a close fight. And when you leave it in such a close fashion, with the scoring criteria that we have right now, you cannot cry and you cannot be mad. But there is such thing as, goddamn, what are we talking about here for scorecards right here? So Andrea Lee versus Maycee Barber. Now, AJ, I told you I'm going to take a flyer on Andrea Lee because I think that if she can keep it on the feet, she's going to have a field day. Well, boy, was I wrong. Maycee Barber was picking Andrea Lee apart on the feet. The real success for Andrea KGB Lee came in the takedowns. But you rack up takedowns. So 5 takedowns for Andrea Lee, right? You rack up some control time. You're in a good spot, but you're not doing a lot of damage, right? You're not really taking advantage of ground and pound situations. You're not bloodying up your opponent like that. She was on the feet, but she wasn't really doing it on the ground. Maycee Barber does some weird, I'm going to hook your arm behind you and then elbow your head in while I'm off my back, so I'm at least being more active. And this leads to round 3 where Maycee Barber gets taken out every single round. And then they announced the scorecards. And I'm thinking, I hit on a dog, man. Let's go, Andrea Lee. They announced the card, split decision. Then they say 30-27. And I was like, oh, this has to be Andrea Lee. It has to be, right? Maycee Barber by split decision. When you heard 30-27, and then when you ultimately heard Maycee Barber victory, what did you think?
I thought I heard something wrong, Derick. I had to double check. I even had to go check Tapology to be like, what, did this really go down? Yeah. You won't say robbery, Derick. I won't say full-blown heist mode robbery. But somebody got pickpocketed for sure, and there's a pay that happened somewhere. But, I thought KGB Lee won this fight. In fact, I was sad I lost the pick, but happy for the resurgence of KGB Lee because, we all thought the striking was going to be the key right here. Turns out she's been in there putting the work on the mats and looked really, really good. I did like the creativity you talked about that that Maycee Barber showed, reaching around, grabbing the arm with her legs, pulling it over. Very creative, very creative. Yeah. Ultimately, did it do anything? Were either of these fighters in a very dangerous position? Not really. But the control time of KGB Lee is almost undeniable, especially, well, I guess, with the inconsistencies in the judging, it does make it hard. but more often than not, the person in control of the position in the fight usually wins. So it was interesting to see they switch it up.
Well, this is my whole entire dilemma here, is that it's like, be consistent with the judging, okay? Yes, Maycee Barber, if you're looking at significant strikes, she outstruck Andrea Lee 48-39. However, Andrea Lee took her down 5 times and had 5 minutes and 20 seconds of control time. So it seems like at this point, they're throwing all that out the window. And even the people on Twitter are over here while they're scoring the fight at damage reigns supreme over control time. I don't give a damn about control time. But it's like, okay, Andrea Lee took Maycee Barber down and held her in a position that Maycee Barber did not want to be held in. You don't get points for that? You don't get points for inflicting your will on your opponent? Like, I don't understand. So 5 takedowns, 5 minutes of control time. Maycee Barber had 2 takedowns, and she had 45 seconds of control time. And obviously, she had some more impactful blows. Legitimately, she did. But I think Andrea Lee, I think she got dealt a bad one, man. And this isn't the first time, man. She's been robbed, and that's why I don't want to be careful with that rob word, but she has been on the wrong end of the split decision in her home state of Texas multiple occasions, right? So I actually want to pull up something right here, AJ, because you know this is probably the most adequate thing that we need to do right now, and we need to talk about the MMA decisions. So it's actually a lot closer than I had imagined when you go to the panels, right? It's almost split down the middle if you're looking at it, if not slightly favored in favor of Maycee Barber here. But look at these scorecards. I want to highlight this. Dan Miragliotta, right? These are his 2 in 2023, right? These are his 2 judging performances. The last time that he judged was in 2020 in Bellator, and then in 1999, back in the beginning days of the UFC. So my question is, why is Dan Miragliotta not only reffing the main event, but also stepping in to say, you know what, let me drop 2 decisions on some split decision cards, where this one, I thought Njokuani won, so this is a bad card in my opinion. And then in this one, 30-27, that's just inexcusable. So give me some thoughts here.
Inexcusable, Derek. And my big thing right here is, why are we having a person of such importance, a referee, a judge, double dipping and wearing 2 shirts in one night and trying to split his time up? No wonder there's fallacies and mistakes made, man. This seems to be very regional for what is the biggest combat sports event, or maybe not event, but at least promotion in the entire world. Seems crazy that they would even allow something like this to happen. I mean, I feel like you either judge, you don't have a fighter going in fighting, and then the next one he's reffing too. You know, like there's no mix them. You can't double dip in this sport. Blows my mind. But I do what I wanted to show, Derek. Go back to your last screen. I do like that KGB Lee did have 30-27s at the bottom from at least a couple. I don't know if I would agree with the 30-27, but it's a lot closer. I mean, that's more apt than the other 30-27s that came out for sure.
Well, as you can see, nobody has a 30-27 Barber in the decision in the media scorecards, right? So yeah, man. Once again, it was a close fight, but I really do think that when you saw 30-27 for Maycee Barber, the judges must love Maycee Barber. Like, I'm not trying to impose fix or anything like that. That's way too steep of a claim. But the reality is, she now has 2 major asterisks on her win streak, her big win streak, right? Miranda Maverick and now Andrea Lee. So I think that Maycee Barber is getting the push right now. And I think Andrea Lee unfairly is going to lose that number 11 spot, potentially get kicked to the back of the rankings, if not out of the rankings completely. Because if you think about it, Andrea Lee is, not the youngest, spryest cat, on the roster right now. She's 34 years old. So this is a bad look right here. And, I'm going to just leave us with this, man. Do you think moving forward with the highest echelon possible in terms of competition, can Maycee Barber continue to have victories if these are the type of fights that are getting put on? These are close fights, man. She's not really doing anything to stand out. What do you think?
No, unfortunately not, Derek, especially once you get into, like you said, Andrea Lee's number 11 over here, right? Who is the top of the division? Let me pull it up so I don't make another mistake. Flyweight.
This is Grosso's division,
even if you want to go Blanchfield, Fierro, Chikagian, Maya, Andrade, like there's a lot of fighters up here that are very, very dangerous and have multiple sets of skills. And I don't think if Barber fights the way she has been, at least as of late, she's going to run into a lot of opposition that can exploit a lot of the things that she does right and wrong. I mean, even in those people I was just listing, there's a lot of fighters that can out Maycee Barber fight. You know, like so I think she has a lot of room to grow. There's an X factor there that Maycee Barber does have, but I think she needs just a little bit more refinement, a little bit more time. Don't feed her to the dogs yet, but definitely feed her to that top 10, top 15 range. Let's see where it goes. There's some fights she can get done, man. Viviana Araujo, Lauren Murphy. There's some fights there that can happen, but like the top 5 is going to be rough, and I think she needs to work on it greatly.
Yeah, I think when Maycee Barber really excels is when she can close the distance completely and start winging the big hooks. That's when she really sees the success, because she does put damage on her opponents, man. But it just, I thought, listen, man, I thought Andrea Lee won the fight. Maycee Barber gets the win on paper, so congratulations to Maycee Barber. But this isn't the end of the controversy right here. Now we come back to the opening bout, man. Chidi Njokuani versus Albert Duraev. And I think we already knew coming into this one, man. I already said it in the beginning. This was a high upside pick, but we knew there was a risk coming in this. Duraev, we know what the man can do. When he gets you on the ground, it's tough for anybody to be able to get back up to their feet, yet alone to survive on the ground, unless he chokes you out or ground and pounds you or does something like that. However, Chidi Njokuani, one thing about him that I thought was really interesting is that first original takedown, right, where Duraev caught the kick, took him down, controlled him for the rest of the round. I thought, okay, we survived. He didn't get choked out. That's good news. I think that mentally slowed down the rest of the fight. Now he was like, all right, I have to take a boxing approach, but I'm just going to be a counterpuncher. I can't get too offensive, because if I do, he's going to take me down. So I have to stay within myself, and I have to be reserved. And that reserved nature led to a lack of output, which led to the rounds being closer than they should have been. But here's my argument here. Albert Duraev, he wins round 1 clearly. Rounds number 2 and number 3, I felt Chidi Njokuani wins the rounds due to effective striking, damage, and look at the big ooh and ah shots. He's landing body shots that Duraev is like, oh shit, getting stumbled back, making big reactions to. There was not one point where Duraev hit Chidi Njokuani with something that I felt that Chidi was like, oh, you know what I mean, I'm rocked or anything like that. So I don't understand the argument for Duraev winning either rounds 2 or 3, but I thought he definitely won round 1. Do you agree with me? Do you see it different? What are your thoughts?
Initially, I was right there with you. Initially, the night of the fight, I thought, okay, this is a little bit of a robbery. I think Chidi won. I was right there with you. So I had to go back this morning and rewatch it. Mm-hmm. And I still agree with you for the most part, but I think the reason why people gave the rounds 2 and 3 to Duraev was because of the backwards motion of Njokuani. He was always on the back foot. And yeah, I agree with you. That right there shouldn't matter unless it becomes a thing where you're always on the back foot and the guy's pushing you up against the cage, and then you're in trouble because of you on the back foot. But if you're just on the back foot the whole time and the guy's not cutting off the angle, it shouldn't matter. That being said, I do think it played into at least the eye test, because not really much else happened. And there wasn't any real big shots. There's a couple big oohs and ahs from Njokuani, right? But other than that, Duraev was just walking forward, eating them. And especially with the past that Duraev has, where we're like, oh, this dude has a chin, he can go in there. It actually made, at least in my mind, made me think like, damn, how good is Buckley? Because this dude's fast, he's starting quick. How hard does he hit to make the face of Duraev look like that? Where in Njokuani, he's teeing up. He's hitting you with some nasty shots, and you're kind of just walking through it. I was a little impressed as far as in that one for Buckley. But to go back to this fight, I think the only reason that people would give Njokuani that loss, or that those not score those last 2 rounds for him, was because of the slow, not normal style that he has and being on the back for the whole time. Now, do I agree with that? No, but what do you think, Derick?
You know what, man? Like, you're making a fair point, I suppose you can say, but I do think that one of the real issues here is that why do you win a round based off of pressure alone? If you're not doing anything really effective with the pressure, why does the pressure matter? And that's the thing. Chidi Njokuani was on the back foot, but he was counter-striking very effectively, right? So if you're going tit for tat, round 2, they have Albert Duraev outlanding Chidi Njokuani 16-14. But if you actually go back and watch the fight, there were bigger moments by Chidi Njokuani. There were harder landed, stinging shots, right? There were those body kicks that were just clapping off of Duraev. But they say, like, because even a dude on Twitter, he was like, I was like, well, what argument is there for rounds 2 and 3? And they're all like, well, damage shouldn't really matter because nothing really happened in the round, but Duraev was walking him down, so that's why he wins. And I'm like, is that enough? Is that enough? And that's why I say, Okay, well, if every fighter who just pressures their opponent wins, we're gonna have a lot of really wacky scorecards here. Because look at that Maycee Barber fight against Jessica Ai, where she clinched her up against the cage the entire fight, right? Well, why doesn't Jessica Ai win the fight? She had more pressure. She was dominating the pace of the fight. So this is the question. It's constantly this just weird inconsistency. So when we're looking at the scorecards, we see it, 29-28. For Chris Lee, for Chidi Njokuani, and then Sal D'Amato and Dan Miragliotta give it 29-28 for Albert Duraev. So once again, Dan Miragliotta has his hand in this weird card. But I'm not going to lie. I'm not as mad about this one as I am with the Maycee Barber one, because I felt like Njokuani left it on the table. I felt like he knew that he needed to do more, but the output just wasn't there, man. He just couldn't get going. I don't know if this was a weird night for the Texas folk or whatever the case may be, but some of these guys, they could not get going. You have anything else on this one?
I agree with you, Derek. I wasn't as upset with this one as the previous we were just talking about, but still, what makes me most upset about this is the inconsistencies in the judges, because you could even go back to the Sandhagen TJ Dillashaw fight. TJ won that fight strictly because of pressure with nothing done to it. I don't know. It seems like a flaw, but there's a couple flaws I think need to be dealt with the UFC judging and reffing, and obviously now they're combined into one thing. So yeah, I think there's a bigger mountain to tackle right here.
Gotcha. All right, understood, my man. So listen, that is the main card right there. I mean, listen, UFC San Antonio, entertainment level. AJ, what are you giving it?
6.
Yeah, it didn't
Not the
hit.
most, but not horrible. It wasn't a 3, but I'd say about a 6. What about you?
It didn't hit the way that I anticipated it to hit, man. I thought that this was going to be, I mean, the prelims, I think those were hitting, bro. But then the main card came, and you know, when you get 3 split decisions on your main card, I mean, that's when things start getting a little bit wacky. But with that being said, bro, let's talk about a couple of these prelim bouts, man. I have to mention this fight. I cannot not mention this fight, man. This was actually my sleeper, CJ Vergara versus Daniel Da Silva, man. Listen, fight of the night. You guys are welcome. This is why I give you these sleepers. I said flyweight. They never disappoint. First time I've ever seen a fighter run for his life in round 1 to come back in round 2 and finish his opponent. I had never seen this before. Literally, Daniel Da Silva. It was not like I'm going to step back, I'm going to backpedal so I can get in position. It was like I have to run away to try to recover, try to clear the cobwebs real quick. Because Daniel Da Silva, man, you got to feel for this dude. 4 losses in the UFC, all entertaining losses, all finished losses. This dude can go, man, but the gas tank just is not there. And Jason Herzog gave CJ Vergara a long, long leash to allow him to stick in the fight. Fair or foul?
Fair? With a big question mark asterisk. I only say that because I feel like the ref would have allowed that for anybody. Like I don't think he did it specifically for Vergara, so that's why I say fair. But I liked this fight, Darius, because it had everything. It was interesting. The running around, it had the memes are there. It was a fun fight. It was a very fun fight, man. And then to see Vergara come back and actually get the win was nice to see. I'm a Vergara fan. Rough one for Daniel Da Silva, because you're right. I feel like this dude gets paid a lot for all the fights he's had, but just isn't on the right side of him, unfortunately, man. But no, interesting fight, man. This was a fun one. The prelims hit for sure.
Yeah. I mean, your sleeper, the Altamirano versus Vinicius Salvador, man. Interesting because Altamirano squeaks out another one. This dude is good, but also Salvador hits hard, bro, and Altamirano was able to get the best of him. So I thought that was very, very impressive on that one. Another controversy. Trevin Giles versus Preston Parsons, man. Preston Parsons, we said he was good. His fight against Evan Elder showed this man is legit. A lot of people are thinking that Preston Parsons should have been on the winning side of that fight. Even though Trevin Giles, I mean, it was a competitive fight. It was very back and forth. But once again, AJ, you know that we have to take a peek into the MMA decisions and take a look at Trevin Giles, right? And look at it. Once again, very split. Down the middle, Giles and Parsons, man. If you look, Parsons was the beat-up guy. Giles looked like he didn't even get into a fight, really. But when you're looking at the scorecards, We see 29, 28, and then Sal D'Amato gave it to Parsons. So this is one where a lot of people are arguing, potentially, that Sal D'Amato did the right thing. But my question to you is, when we're looking at the numbers, I'm going to pull up the numbers right now. I'm not going to pull them up on the screen, but just taking a look at him, just like, Trevin Giles, 55 to 42 in terms of significant strikes, but Parsons took him down 3 times. So once again, control time. It doesn't mean nothing, right? Takedowns don't mean nothing. As long as you outstrike your opponent and cause some more damage, you win the fight. And I think in a way, man, it feels like, doesn't it feel like it's slightly reverting to like street fight rules? It's like, well, he got the black eye, so the other dude wins, right? But it's like, but he held him down the whole time. I don't know, man. You got anything else to say on that one?
I feel like it is reverting there, Derek. No, and I don't know if I agree that Parsons should have won. This was a lot closer of a fight than I was expecting. But again, interesting that a lot of these are split decisions.
Yeah, I had no dog in the fight. That's why for me, I was just trying to look at it from that angle of like, okay, well, like, yeah, I thought Giles at the moment that I saw the fight end, I was like, oh yeah, Giles, gets the nod, right? But then again, when they call for the rewatches and stuff like that, you see things a little bit differently the second time. All right, Lucas Alexander versus Steven Peterson, man. Lucas Alexander was almost fed a showcase matchup right here against Steven Peterson. Kickboxed him at distance for 3 rounds. Peterson looked slow. 32 years old and called it quits, man. Retired in the cage. Listen, Ocho retired with 8 UFC fights, man. This dude is an OG, legitimately. So you just got to show a little bit of love for the old school UFC fans, the old school MMA fans for some Steven Peterson. But Lucas Alexander, man, like I said, this was a showcase bout. Like, he literally picked the man apart for 3 rounds, and there was nothing that Peterson can do. I think Alexander is going to be a real problem in this division here. And I had mentioned in the pre-show, man, to make sure you watch out for this guy's fight because he's exciting. What do you think about it?
With the speed or the power that he has in the 145-pound class in Alexander, man, that's going to be a very interesting one to see how it matches up against the speed of these 145-pounders. Yeah. That power can translate, man, and he's still quick too in Alexander, so I'm excited to see where they stack him up against next. That's
right. And lastly, man, Daniel Pineda goes 28 for 28 in total career finishes, man. The man has never won a fight by decision. He has won 100% of his fights by finish, and he guillotines Tucker Lutz in the second round, man. This was a blood and guts fight. Pineda, long layoff, comes back, and he gets right back to business, bro. So this was entertaining. The thing you got to take into consideration, he fought out his contract, so we might not see Daniel Pineda anymore. And I don't think there's any real incentive for the UFC to re-sign Daniel Pineda, honestly. But I do think that he's a fun fighter, man. And wherever he goes, you wish him the best of luck. I just hope he gets a bag. I hope he gets paid. But come on, bro. 28 for 28. Talk about a career. What do you think?
Talk about a career, Derek, and like you said, he fell in a little bit into obscurity, but the hardcores know Daniel Pineda, man. He's one of the ones where a lot of people would duck him if they were looking to sign a fight. So I'm excited to see where he goes. Hopefully, like you said, he gets paid, because that's at the end of the day, man. You get 28 fights, that's a hell of a bartering chip to say, give me some money. So hopefully they pay the homie, and he's able to go somewhere where he still has that star performance.
That's right, man. And with that being said, I mean, just like that, a bunch of fights get canceled and weird stuff. So we wrapped up with like 10 fights or something like that, man. And that's everything right there. So AJ, we got some time. Let's jump into the rankings review. Let's get it, brother. And today we're gonna take a dip into a division that I feel like is almost non-existent anymore, but we got to talk about it. Brother, we are going to be talking about the weight class that holds Holly Holm, the preacher's daughter, man. We're going to talk about the women's bantamweight division. And when we're looking at this division, there's zero activity it feels like that's happening right here, right? So you got, of course, Amanda Nunes. She is the champion. Everybody is clamoring for saying, give Pena the rematch, right? I don't know if we need to see the trilogy, right? I don't know if that's going to be super necessary. But then people are saying, well, Raquel Pennington, she is getting overlooked. She needs the title shot. But then you just have Holly Holm, who just fights her way back into title contention again and again and again with the Ketlin Vietas, Irene Aldañez, Pani Kianzad, right? Mayra Bueno Silva, she's making her way up the division right now. Like, this can be a busier division. And I think that if Nunes was not the champion, we would see a lot of real turnaround in this division. But the reality is, who has the best shot of dethroning the Lioness, man? Is it Pena? Is it Pennington? Is it Holly Holm? Is it Aldañez? I mean, who do you see?
I really instantly my eyes go right to Rocky Pennington, but I still think the ground game of Nunes might be a little too much for her, man. The strength that Nunes possesses is a big challenge. Now, that being said, Holly Holm, if she can continue to work the ground game that we saw in her last fight, get better at it, keep improving, going that way, maybe, because Holly Holm is strong, man, and I think she's able to win fights like that. But again, with the Ketlen Vieira loss and all that stuff, even the Amanda Nunes loss, she lost by a head kick and then punches. Like it's a hard one. But I feel like if there's anybody, that's where my mind goes. Rocky Pennington, Holly Holm. Maybe it's recency bias. I still think Rocky's a hell of a fight, though. What do you think, Derek?
I feel like you almost have to make Holly Holm number one because of their wins over Irene Aldana and Rocky Pennington. So if you're going back to those rankings, man, I mean, listen, Pennington, Aldana is behind her, right? But I mean, Julian Pena is the only other one right there. And I imagine if they fought, who do you think would win, Holly Holm or Pena right now? Maybe Pena with the takedowns.
Maybe Pena with the takedowns, unless Holly Holm can stuff them, and then the hands start shining for Holm.
Yeah. So right now, still a limbo situation here. I don't know when Nunes is slated to fight again, but the reality is Holly Holm has worked her way back into title contention. So do not be surprised if you do see her challenging for a title again. You got to imagine pretty much deserves it. Last time that she fought for a title was 2019. So, I mean, that was quite a while ago. With that being said, that is your 60-second rankings review. And listen, brother, short show this week, man. UFC San Antonio was something. I'm a little disappointed, but it's okay because that is the MMA God's sacrifice to this week off that we're about to have that will lead to UFC, 287? Alex Perez versus Israel Adesanya, number 2. And if you really go into the whole entire gambit, what is it, number 4 total? The 4th time these dudes are clashing together between kickboxing and MMA. Oh, man, it's going to be a good one. So before we get out of here, man, I know generally we don't get into too much, personal stuff, the things that we're doing outside of the show, but I am curious, man, do you ever, I know Texas, they have a lot of regional cards out there, man. You ever find yourself out like going to a regional card or looking at the regional MMA scene or even trying to see if there's any fights in your local area that you go check out?
Man, not too regional. I do talk to a lot of my buddies. They're out at different gyms doing MMA training and stuff. I got a lot of my clients here that like to do self-defense, so I am in the scene out here. But Derek, not a lot of regional thing. I should check that out a little bit more, especially with these weeks off, because there's a lot of good events going on in Texas. Me and my lady, we're gonna go to the UFC San Antonio, and then it ended up not. I just moved, so there's some mixes and matches that I didn't really want to do. Turns out I'm glad we didn't buy those tickets because this is a card to watch at home. But I think you're right, Derek. I do need to get out to those combats that are going on because there's a lot of them out here, especially in this big city of Austin, Texas. So what about you? I know you're out there grinding in the gym all the time. You're going to your own competitions, but are you going out to regional shows and everything like that?
I'm going to the big ones, brother. Remember, fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, baby. So this Saturday, it times itself out perfectly. I'm actually going to go to the PFL. PFL, their new season, they're kicking it off, man. So we got Marlon Vera fighting. You got Rob Wilkinson, you got Omari Akhmedov, right? You got some OG UFC names in there, man. So we're gonna go check it out right there. It's gonna be at the Virgin Theater, so it should be a fun time, man. But that's the thing that I kind of encourage for those who are watching this program right here. I know our niche is UFC. This is kind of like what we cater towards, right? But at the end of the day, still watch your Bellators, your PFLs. If you're in Texas, your Furies, right? Go watch your Legacies. Like, you got a lot of different opportunities here for MMA. And I don't know about you, AJ, but I don't really watch any other sport aside from football and golf. I watch fighting, face punching, jiu-jitsu, football, golf, and there's no football right now. Golf's kind of year round. It's face punching time, brother. Go get it where you can. That's all that I got. You know what I'm saying? One of these days, we're going to have to come make it out here to Vegas, and we're going to have to catch some fights, brother. But all right, my man, give the people some last word before we hop up out of here.
Woo, Derek, it's fun breaking it down, folks, but if you're looking for even more, you already know, go check me out, twitch.tv/Santa Fe Bomber. Jump in the chat so that way we can have that discourse, that back and forth. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel right here. Go check out bloodywaterpodcast.com, the home, the hub. So that way, you can get everything over there, man. Whether you want to go check it out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, man. Either way, go check us out. Make sure you subscribe, share with your friends. And to those regional shows, whenever you start going out, you already know which link to shoot some people.
That's
so
right.
Then go make some money, man. Your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. Yeah, we got a week off, but we're going to be winning y'all some money the week after that. And we forgot to mention, man, it's game bread season. It's Gilbert Torino Burns for that the fight right before right before the main event. It's going to be a very fun weekend here coming soon. So tune in, folks.
That's right. Get your rest, eat your Cheerios, do what you need to do to put yourself in a position for success for this upcoming week. But take the week off. Enjoy it, folks. We will catch you next time for the UFC 287 preview show. That's it for us. And until next time, peace.